What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking our top 5 must-own wide receivers for the 2022 fantasy football season. Basically, these are guys that are all being drafted outside of the first round. Hell, even outside of the first 2 rounds in drafts currently, but they have league-winning upside. They can finish as wide receiver 1 type of guys. So definitely tune in into this breakdown. If you guys enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear it in the comment section. Do you agree, disagree with these names? Who else would you put in this category of must-own wide receivers this season, along with any other questions you guys might have? We will do our best to answer them all. And lastly, make sure to check out the 2022 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Has everything you could want at a great value. Breakdowns like these, rankings, top 150 overall players in standard and PPR formats, individual player bios, tiers, projections, along with general fantasy advice. All the details in the description. But with that being said, let's get into it. And as you can see, we've got our list of the 2022 ADP consensus rankings pulled up here via Fantasy Pros. And let's not waste any time. We're going straight to the number 13 guy on this list. That is one Michael Pittman Jr. of the Indianapolis Colts. And I do want to make a quick note. This is based on PPR scoring, but when I say must own, I think these guys are going to be superstars no matter what. So, that's not really going to be an issue in my opinion, whether it's PPR or standard. I think these guys are targets regardless of your format. So with that being said, Michael Pittman is a guy that kind of had a little bit of a mini breakout last season, happened with Carson Wentz, and now, in my opinion, he gets a quarterback upgrade with Matt Ryan. What did we see from Michael Pittman last season? We saw that he can be the primary wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts. Their wide receiver 1, eclipsed 1,000 yards, not too far away from 100 receptions either. I believe he finished right with 88 receptions on the season. I think Matt Ryan can sustain a little bit of a more pass-heavy offense personally. And, look, this offensive line is still a very good unit. Yes, they will have the rushing attack with guys like Jonathan Taylor and Naheem Hines, but Matt Ryan is a very capable quarterback still. His last couple of years in Atlanta, the biggest issue was the fact that that offensive line couldn't give him time. It couldn't protect him, and he continued to get hit and hit and hit. That shouldn't be the case here with the Indianapolis Colts. And yes, again, they will continue to run the football. But Michael Pittman, I think, is by far and away the top weapon that the Colts have. And opposing teams are going to have to respect the rushing game for the Colts. And whether it's on play action passes or on short intermediate routes, I think Michael Pittman has, a Keenan Allen type of ascension this season. I think he could very well see 100 receptions on the year. I think he has the fact that there's a quarterback upgrade going for him. Matt Ryan has always been, a pass-heavy type of quarterback. We'll see the way that the Colts utilize him, but I don't think they're going to all of a sudden go away from that. And then finally, his current ADP. Okay, he's ranked as the 13th overall wide receiver here, but he's still going at the end of the 3rd round. Sometimes you can even get him, depending on the size of your leagues, in the 4th round. I think that's a pretty good value. Someone that can be a wide receiver 1 for you if you wait on that position. I'm very excited about him. I think he showed flashes last season, and you could potentially get him at a little bit of a discount before what could be his breakout season here in 2022. So he's definitely somebody I am targeting in all formats. Now let's continue to move on here with one Terry McLaurin of the Washington Commanders. I feel like kind of comparable actually to Michael Pittman. Weirdly enough, Carson Wentz goes from the Colts to Washington, but with how bad the quarterback play for Washington has been, last season, a lot of people were excited because they got Ryan Fitzpatrick. That should tell you, everything you need to know when Ryan Fitzpatrick is viewed as the potential savior for guys like a Terry McLaurin. Well, say what you will about Carson Wentz, but he's still the best quarterback that Terry McLaurin has played with in his young career so far. The biggest issues with Terry last season was the inconsistency. And, I still think, despite what people might say about Carson Wentz, that he's miles, and I mean miles better of a quarterback than a Taylor Heineke or really anyone that Washington has had these last 2 seasons. And I think that's going to bring in some more stability for Terry McLaurin, because last year he was just way, way, way too boom or bust. And I think that you can get a borderline top 15 season from Terry McLaurin. I look at a lot of these names here ahead of him, and I think he could easily finish ahead of guys like A.J. Brown, guys like a Jalen Waddle, guys like a DJ Moore. And to me, this is potentially where you see, again, what everybody has been waiting for from Terry McLaurin. We've seen the flashes. We know he's talented. And I still think he's the top wide receiver for Washington. Like, I'm not scared away by Curtis Samuel. I'm not scared away by the rookies that they've added. To me, Terry McLaurin is by far and away the alpha on this wide receiver core. And, potentially somewhat similarly to what Carson Wentz did for a, Michael Pittman, I think he can do for a Terry McLaurin as well. I think McLaurin skill set wise is more talented than Michael Pittman. So I think even the slight, quarterback upgrade here can do wonders for McLaurin. It's going to make him a little bit more consistent, and that is going to make him so much more reliable. A guy week in and week out you can insert in your lineups. ADP wise, again, he's somebody that's probably going to be going in the 4th, maybe at the end of the 4th, early 5th round. And with the upside that he has, he is somebody that I will be targeting at his current ADP. Now, let's continue on with our number 3 guy on this list. That is one Marquise Brown, now of the Arizona Cardinals. And we saw the early season breakout for Marquise Brown that everybody was waiting for so long last season with the Ravens. But then, injuries, along with Lamar Jackson not being 100%, it took its toll, and it's totally understandable. But what we can't deny is that, when he was on the field with his top quarterback, Marquise Brown was a wide receiver 1. He was putting up crazy numbers. And I know, sure, they might have not been sustainable for the entirety of the year. But what we saw from him at the end of the season, I feel like he should get a pass for. And now, with him going arguably, not arguably even, he's going to a better passing offense. He's going to a better passing quarterback in Kyler Murray. And in fact, a Kyler Murray that will be without one DeAndre Hopkins, his previous top target. Still a very good wide receiver, but he's getting a little bit, long in the tooth as well. Dealt with his fair share of injuries last season, and now suspended for the first 6 games. So what does that mean? Well, I think Marquise Brown runs this offense for at least those first 6 games. Then, there could be an adjustment period, a little bit of a rust for DeAndre Hopkins. That chemistry is going to have been developed between Marquise Brown and Kyler Murray. I think that Brown is somebody that Murray will go to often, and he could be a sneaky good play, not only, in standard formats where a lot of times, that was the knock on Marquise Brown. He wouldn't get the volume. He'd be a boom or bust guy. He kind of shed that title last season. He comes in at this number 21 spot here per these rankings. Consensus-wise, he's going somewhere, in the 5th, 6th round. I think that's tremendous value. Again, it'll depend on the platform and depend on the size of your leagues. But this is going to be a high-scoring offense. Kyler Murray is going to sling it. Marquise Brown is going to be his top option. And I think we're going to see a similar type of situation that we saw from Marquise Brown last season translate into this year. There's a reason why the Cardinals paid up so much to get him. And I think he could very well continue, maybe to a lesser extent, not as huge of an upside when Hopkins returns, but I still think he can be a wide receiver 1. The biggest thing to me here is just the value you're getting on him. He's ranked outside of the top 20 wide receivers on a very, very good, again, potent pass-heavy offense. I think it's going to be a very good year, especially start to the season for Marquise Brown. And if you don't, this is the beauty of it. If you don't have confidence in him all season long, what you do, how you capitalize on it, after the first 4, 5, 6 games of the season, you sell high on him. He is going to be the perfect sell high candidate, and you're going to get a whopping return for him. But let's continue to move on to our number 4 guy on this list. No question, my favorite must-own wide receiver this season. That is Allen Robinson, coming in at the number 30 spot. And probably the biggest disappointment of last year, out of so many wide receivers. He was probably drafted in the early 3rd round, maybe sometimes in the 2nd round if it's PPR formats. He did a Houdini act. He disappeared. Again, complete bust. But guess what? He is now going to the LA Rams. He's playing opposite Cooper Kupp. He's playing with Matthew Stafford. We just saw what Matthew Stafford did for Cooper Kupp. I think he can do something very similar for Allen Robinson. I don't think Cooper Kupp is going to duplicate the stats that he had last year. In fact, I know people love to just look at the year prior. There's some recency bias and just fall in love with what happened last year. And that's why Cooper Kupp is the number 1 guy this year in terms of wide receivers. But again, I think the gap between Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson is going to be a lot smaller than many people think. Robinson has been a top 10 wide receiver before, especially in PPR formats, with garbage like Mitch Trubisky and Bortles. So I think that's really all you need to know. Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Fame type of quarterback. And okay, Robinson might be the wide receiver 2 on the season, but I think he's a better Robert Woods. Last year, people were drafting Robert Woods ahead of Cooper Kupp, as crazy as that sounded, or really close to him. Robinson should not be going 5 rounds later than Cooper Kupp. That is a travesty. I would draft him as early as the 3rd round, but of course, I'm going to take advantage of the ADP and the nonsensical rankings of him this season while I still can. He's on an awesome offense, awesome upside, and I think he's going to get a lot of volume. I'm just so excited. He is the best value, the single best value for fantasy wide receivers this season. And considering you can get him in the 6th round, that's an absolute steal. The best thing about it is it minimizes the risk as well. There is no way that Allen Robinson does not improve on the numbers that he put up last year. He is going to be an absolute league winner. But let's get to our 5th and final name here. We're going to have to scroll down a little bit more. And the guy here that I want to talk about is one Allen Lazard. So this might be the, kind of biggest dart throw of these names. And I acknowledge that. I agree with that. But what you can't ignore is the tremendous upside and, again, the potential value. He's ranked here at the number 46 spot. Somebody has to lead the Green Bay Packers without Davante Adams. At some point in time, it's your moment to take the next step. And I think that's what we're seeing here for Lazard. The top dog is gone. Davante Adams no longer with the Packers. Lazard proved to be the number 2 wide receiver for Green Bay last season. Aaron Rodgers, arguably has the most chemistry with him. I know Randall Cobb is there, but he's past his prime. Sammy Watkins is one hamstring away from missing the entire season. They haven't added any other wide receivers yet. Now, sure, I will change my tune on this if they go out and sign a big name, proven wide receiver, something like that happens. But Lazard coming in at this number 46 spot, you can get him probably close to double-digit rounds, again, depending on the size of your leagues. I love taking a chance on him. He doesn't have to be a starter for you right away. You can put him on the bench, and I think the upside is there. To me, it's going to be Allen Lazard and the Aaron Jones show all season long for the Green Bay Packers. I'm willing to take a chance on Lazard. It's going to cost you nothing. He's proven that he can be a guy that Aaron Rodgers goes to. That means a lot for this offense. Rodgers targets guys that he can trust often, and the volume is going to be up there. The opportunity is going to be up there. Just increased snap rates. Everything for Allen Lazard is pointing up. I'm definitely willing to take a chance on him regardless of the format. I think Lazard is going to be the wide receiver 1 for the Green Bay Packers. That's always carried a lot of value as long as Aaron Rodgers has been the quarterback on this team. I think it will continue to be. And this year, I think it's the year of Allen Lazard. I honestly think he can very well be a top 25 wide receiver. Hell, even a top 20 wide receiver, as crazy as that sounds. It's all about, if the Green Bay Packers add somebody else. If they do, it's probably going to be a sign that maybe they don't trust Allen Lazard. But up until now, look, late July, early August, that move hasn't been made yet. And that tells me that Lazard can be the guy. If not, then we can come back or revisit. But for now, I am riding with Lazard as the last name on this list. But with that, we wrap up this breakdown of our top 5 must-own wide receivers for the 2022 fantasy football season. Let me hear it in the comment section. Do you agree, disagree? Who else would you put on this list? There's obviously a lot of other names we can include. I'll let you know whether I'm on the same page about them as well, along with any other questions you guys might have. I'll do my best to answer them all. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe. Again, check out the 2022 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide, now available, all you can want at a great value. Details in the description. And in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.